what's the next step, right? So I look at it and go, okay, they're already doing this. We've obviously changed our genetics, our ventilation, our health, our nutrition programs. What's the next step? Do you ever hear that conversation and have people ask you that?
So I think that that next step comes down to some of those priorities, and where you're focusing. If by sustainability, environmental sustainability, you're shooting to impact some of these global metrics like global warming potential. I think the first step is first understanding where it comes from on a farm, and really that scope that go into some of those calculations. This is where that sustainability science comes in. That science includes life cycle analyses. They put scopes, they put boundaries to their calculations. And I think they're often different boundaries than what we consider as our farm boundary, as our barn boundary. So how do people start this action, right? Or these actions towards sustainability? It is about understanding where you are and where you want to be. And where you want to be, might be just based on your own personal goals. They might be somewhat guided by industry goals. This is where we want to be. I think the pork board uses the word North Star. This is the North Star of where we want to be in the future. And so based on where you want to be, I think the first step is just understanding where you are and what resources you have at your disposal, and really frankly your situation. If we liken it and make the analogy to charting a course on the map, and start embarking on a road trip across the country, well, you need to know where you're starting from, and you also need to know what you have at your disposal to get to where you're going to go. And so, if we're trying to understand where we're at, I think it is about, diving a little bit deeper into using some of the calculators, some of the tools that are available to try and make these baseline estimates of where we're at. If the priority is, to contribute to carbon neutrality or to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, where are the greenhouse gas emissions coming from? That was, I think, an illuminating point with some of the producers we worked with. The tools that are available, the calculators that are out there, they're designed with a specific boundary in mind. And in many cases, that goes back to the feed production side. And I think it was a very big aha moment in many cases that, for a carbon footprint, what we call a cradle to gate footprint, the majority, almost half the estimated emissions come from feed production and the other half from manure. Our on-farm energy use, which is what I think a lot of people turn to as a way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions for a cradle to gate footprint, is a small proportion. But it's also a big proportion of what a farmer has control over. So it's some of these decisions that can guide, or some of these actions, that can guide the next step.